I'm Jalil. I'm head of services for a charity called Community Housing and Therapy. We are trying to be innovative, but we have been around for 25 years. So it's sort of, we've had to be more innovative because of the sector that we work in and austerity and, changes in what people see as treatment of mental health and what people see as mental health. So we do see ourselves as an innovative and we are trying to change how we do things. One of those changes is that we have always traditionally worked with adults, so 18 and above. And what happened was that we were seeing more and more people coming to, and I was saying this, and it sounds a bit far-fetched, but literally arriving at our door on their 18th birthday, actually on their birthday, and saying, they're no longer children, they're yours to deal with. So what we've had to think about is, well, okay, how do we support these individuals, but also how can we try and encourage some change? And part of that change is us expanding our idea of, well, what is the difference really between working with a 16 and 17, a young person, and an 18-year-old? I mean, do you magically become a different person? Do you suddenly, have all this extra knowledge at 18? Well, not really. And to join adult services at 18, where in some of our communities, your peers are, in their 50s, and they've been through, a wealth of experiences, whether positive and negative, like psychiatric hospitals, some of them for a very long time. And that's a very scary place for someone who's been through children's services, and from my experience, children's services are quite different to adult services in mental health. The amount of support and the amount of investment that young people get is not enough, but it's a lot more than adults get. And to be suddenly dropped into a system where you're used to having a little bit more support, and then suddenly your care coordinator doesn't necessarily have the time because they have caseloads that are a lot bigger. So that's where we've had to try and be more innovative and increase our partnerships with non-third sectors. So we've got we're increasing our partnerships with commissioners, trying to get them to think about this gap, how to help young people move from young people services to adult services. So CHT's been around for quite a while. We have had a recent rejig of our model, had to recognise some hard truths about how we've approached things. We became very sort of stuck in a psychodynamic model and very sort of rigid in our thinking we are therapeutic communities, this is what therapeutic communities are. And we lost sight of what therapeutic communities started all those years ago trying to do: get rid of hierarchy, flatten that down, co-produce a community, recognise that everybody has an expertise and has the ability to receive and give support. So we've had to go back to our grassroots and really rejig that recently, and that's been quite useful. I've got a very shiny presentation, and I'm not going to go through it all, but I wanted to show it as a way, because this is what I would get up and talk to commissioners with. It's all very fancy, it's all promising, we do wonderful things, and we do all of that. But the reality of therapeutic communities is messy. It is messy because it's everyday life, and everyday life is messy. When I first arrived on my first day when I came to CHT, I'd never worked in a therapeutic community before. I'd studied psychology, I'd studied neuroscience. I thought I knew a lot about everything. I arrived, I rang the doorbell. Someone who looked very smart, was very articulate, answered the door. So I thought, well, okay, this is going well. I had a conversation with them. They showed me around the building. And in that tour of the initial building, there was someone with half-dressed, looking quite disheveled, obviously speaking to voices that I couldn't see or I didn't know. I was quite scared. I was quite inexperienced. I was thought, right, this is the type of resident that I'm working with. This is what it is going to be like. Okay, I got shown to the office, and the person who'd kindly showed me took me around the tour goes, right, okay, this is I'll say Anna. It probably wasn't Anna, but Anna. She's a member of staff, so she'll probably take you to your induction. I was like, hang on a second. I thought you were a member of staff. And that's the reality of therapeutic communities. Therapeutic communities are a mixture of people. Presumptions should be left at the door. You know, I always tell our staff when they come, if you walk into a therapeutic community and you know who the staff and who the residents are or who the patients are, then there's something wrong with that, in that ethos of that therapeutic, because it's not holding on to the values that it is all about being part of a community, learning from each other, being authentic in those relationships. And that's where we say where relationships are the treatment, and that's what we mean by that. That everyday interactions are what bring people together, and that living learning experience is what hopefully helps them. So I'll just run through a little bit of slides, but I'm not going to stop at them very much. So yeah, we have seven. Oh, I'll go to that there. We have 7 communities at the moment. Only one of them is a young person's community, but we are hoping to open a new one this year. But you can see we aren't a big charity, and we see a value in that, because at the moment I probably know all of our residents and have a relationship with them. I think if we got much bigger in my role, I probably would lose that. That would be impossible. So we try to keep ourselves and our ambitions small, but what we are trying to do is increase ourselves as a training provider and pass on, you know, some of this, what we think is very important in the values and how we work. Our treatment model, I mean, I'll go to, that's just what I would say, but a lot of our therapeutic philosophy is what we would expect in our own relationships, and what we would have in our own, we would hope to have in our own lives. Things like a healthy attachment to a place, to a community, to other people, containment, a sense of safety, respect for each other. But one of the most important to me is a lot of services talk about independent living skills and building people's independence, particularly in young persons. What I'm finding is there's more of they're given a workbook. They're saying you have to work through this in order to prove that you can be independent. Well, actually, the reality of it is nobody is independent. We are interdependent. We rely on our relationships and our networks and to keep us, you know, going in the right direction, whatever that is, or to keep us sane, all of us. So interdependence is what we try and hold on to. And part of that also is co-production, which is something that we've really tried to push through now. And we're still learning and we're still trying to develop it, right from our training program of staff to our recruitment to our policies and procedures. We're trying to do everything in a and I'm saying it's a proper co-production way rather than just consultation or something like that. It's challenging, it's really challenging, and we've had to overhaul a lot of things, but I think it's been a useful process for us. And I'm just going to go through to last bit because I thought it was quite nice, and this is what I'd like to show off, but this is what our residents actually say about their experience with us, and that's what I wanted to leave you with.